Tonight, your thumb will stop on something terrible. A headline, a warning, a face filled with fear. And before you even decide to care, your brain will already be leaning closer. You may tell yourself you hate bad news. You may say you want peace, calm, and a little less chaos in your life. But somehow the frightening story gets your attention first. The angry post feels harder to ignore, and the disaster you do not want to see becomes the thing your mind keeps checking again. But the real answer is far stranger. Your brain may not love bad news because you are broken. It may love bad news because it is old, older than cities, older than writing, older than the glowing screen in your hand. Long before your ancestors had newspapers, notifications, or comment sections, they lived inside a world where missing good news was unfortunate, but missing bad news could be fatal. A ripe fruit tree mattered. A friendly face mattered. A sunny morning mattered. But a snake in the grass mattered more. Why? Because one kind of information could improve your day, while the other could end your life. This is the ancient imbalance hiding behind your modern attention. Your brain did not evolve to give every piece of information equal weight. It evolved to keep you alive. And survival is not fair. Survival is biased. It leans toward threat. Psychologists often call this the negativity bias. That sounds technical, but the idea is simple. Negative information tends to hit your mind harder than positive information of the same size. One insult can echo longer than 5 compliments. One frightening possibility can feel more urgent than 10 ordinary facts. One bad headline can pull you in faster than an entire page of quiet good news. Your brain is not calmly asking, "Is this balanced?" It is asking, "Could this hurt me?" That question is ancient. Imagine one of your ancestors walking through tall grass at dusk. The air is warm. The insects are loud. The group is not far away, but for a few moments your ancestor is alone. Then something moves. Maybe it is the wind. Maybe it is a branch. Maybe it is a predator. The brain has a choice. It can wait for perfect evidence. Or it can react. If it waits and the shadow is harmless, nothing much is gained. If it waits and the shadow is a leopard, the story ends there. But if it reacts and the shadow is only a branch, your ancestor looks foolish for 1 second and survives another day. So the brain learns a rule: better safe than dead. This rule is not elegant. It creates false alarms. It makes you jump at noises, overread expressions, and imagine danger before danger is proven. But across thousands of generations, false alarms were cheaper than missed alarms. This is where bad news begins to win. Not because bad news is always more true. Not because fear is wisdom. Not because the world is only terrible. Bad news wins because your nervous system treats it as a possible survival signal. The neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux spent years studying how the brain processes fear, especially through a small almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. The amygdala is often described too simply, as if it is just a fear button. But a clearer way to think about it is this: it helps your brain detect emotional importance, especially when something might be dangerous. It can react quickly, sometimes faster than your conscious mind can explain. That is why your body may tighten before you fully understand what you saw. A harsh tone, a sudden movement, a threatening image, a headline about danger. Your attention locks on first. Your explanation comes second. You feel the pull. Then you invent the reason. Have you ever opened your phone for 1 calm minute and somehow ended up reading about disease, crime, collapse, outrage, or conflict? You were not planning to do that, but your attention was. In the 1970s, psychologist Daniel Kahneman and his collaborator Amos Tversky showed that human judgment is not a perfect logic machine. Your mind uses shortcuts. These shortcuts are useful, but they can also distort reality. One of them is called the availability heuristic. In plain English, it means that if something is easy to remember, your brain tends to believe it is more common or more important. A plane crash on the news feels huge because it is vivid. 1,000 safe flights feel invisible because they are boring. A violent story feels close because it is emotional. A peaceful, ordinary day feels like nothing happened. Your brain confuses memorable with likely. That confusion once helped your ancestors. If someone saw a predator near the river, That story needed to spread fast. The most frightening details had to stick. The group had to remember where it happened, what it looked like, and what signs came before it. Fear made information portable. A calm report might fade. A terrifying story traveled. Around the fire, bad news had social power. It told the group where not to go, which stranger not to trust, which food made someone sick, which sound meant danger after dark. The person who shared a warning was not simply being negative. They were protecting the tribe. And the person who listened survived, so your brain became a collector of warnings. It still is. Only now the tribe is enormous. The fire is your screen. And the warnings never end. A single ancient brain is being fed the fears of billions of people. That is not what it was built for. For most of human history, bad news was local. It came from the forest nearby, the river nearby, the rival group nearby, the storm you could see building over the hills. It usually involved something you could act on. Move away, stay close. Warn others, hide, fight, wait. Modern bad news is different. It is distant, it is constant, and often there is nothing immediate you can do. Your brain still treats the signal as urgent, but your body has nowhere to put the urgency. So it scrolls, it checks, it refreshes, it looks for the next piece of information, hoping that one more update will finally make the danger feel controlled. But does it? Usually, no. It gives you a tiny feeling of control for a moment. Then it creates another question. Then another threat. Then another headline. This loop has a name people often use now: doomscrolling. It means continuing to consume negative news online even when it makes you feel worse. But underneath the modern word is an ancient survival pattern. Your mind is searching the darkness for the shape of the threat. The problem is that the darkness now has infinite pages. Researchers Mark Trussler and Stuart Soroka studied how people respond to news and found something uncomfortable. Even when people say they prefer positive stories, they often choose negative ones. Not always. Not everyone. But often enough to reveal a pattern. Your conscious values and your automatic attention are not the same thing. You may value hope, but your attention checks danger first. This does not make you shallow, it makes you human. In fact, even babies show signs that negative information has special weight. Developmental researchers have found that infants and young children often pay close attention to angry faces, fearful voices, and social danger cues. Before a child understands politics, economics, or global crisis, the nervous system is already learning an ancient lesson. That face matters. That tone matters. That threat matters. Your brain is not only watching the world, it is watching other people watch the world. This is why fear spreads so easily through a crowd. If one person suddenly looks terrified, your body wants to know why. If everyone is staring at the same danger, your attention moves there too. In ancestral life, ignoring collective alarm would have been reckless. If the group ran, you probably ran first and asked questions later. Social fear is contagious because survival was social, and now that contagious system lives inside platforms designed to measure attention. This is the counterintuitive twist. Bad news does not only spread because people are negative. Bad news spreads because attention systems, both biological and technological, reward urgency. Your brain gives priority to possible threats. Platforms give priority to what keeps people engaged. Those two systems meet in the middle. And what do they often produce? Outrage, alarm, conflict, fear. Not because every person designing every system is trying to scare you every second. The reality is more ordinary and more dangerous. When attention becomes measurable, the content that grabs attention becomes valuable. And negative information has a built-in advantage inside the human nervous system. A calm headline whispers. A threatening headline grabs your sleeve. Which one do you notice first? This is why the modern news environment can make the world feel worse than it is in every direction at once. You may be safer in many ways than most humans who ever lived, with medicine, shelter, sanitation, laws, communication, and emergency systems your ancestors could not imagine. But your emotional picture of reality is not built from statistics alone. It is built from salience. Salience means what stands out. 1,000 quiet improvements do not always stand out. One shocking event does. A peaceful neighborhood does not become a viral clip. A frightening moment does. A normal day does not feel like information. A disaster does. So the brain builds a map of the world from the loudest signals, not necessarily the most common ones. And then your body lives inside that map. This is why bad news can change your mood even when it is far away. Your rational mind may know the event is not happening in your room, on your street, or to your family. But the older parts of your brain are not so precise. They respond to images, voices, faces, and stories as if they are clues from the immediate environment. A red alert looks like a red alert. A scream sounds like a scream. A frightened face is still a frightened face. Your body was not designed to say, this is a digital representation of a remote event selected by engagement algorithms and presented outside its statistical context. Your body says, danger. That one-word translation is powerful, but it is incomplete. Because the world is not only danger, this is where your modern responsibility begins. Not with pretending that bad news is fake, not with ignoring suffering, not with forcing yourself into empty positivity. The answer is not to become numb. The answer is to understand the machine. Your brain has a smoke alarm inside it. A smoke alarm is supposed to be sensitive. If it only activates when the whole house is already burning, it is useless. So it goes off when toast burns, when steam rises, when dust passes the sensor. Annoying? Yes. Better than silence during a real fire? Also yes. Your negativity bias is like that. It is not evil. It is overprotective. It would rather interrupt your peace than miss a possible threat. But a smoke alarm is not a complete picture of your home. It only tells you one kind of information. This is the mistake your mind can make with bad news. It treats alarm as reality itself. If you feel afraid, the world must be as dangerous as the feeling says. If you feel angry, the threat must be as large as the anger says. If you feel helpless, nothing good must be happening anywhere. But feelings are signals. They are not maps. A signal deserves attention. A signal does not deserve total control. So what can you do? First, you can notice the pull before obeying it. The moment a headline tightens your chest, name what is happening. Your ancient brain has detected possible danger. That does not mean the story is false. It does not mean you should ignore it. It means your attention has been captured by a system designed for survival. Second, you can ask what action the information gives you. Ancient bad news usually came with a response. Do not eat that plant. Do not go near that ridge. Stay inside tonight. Modern bad news often offers no immediate action, only emotional activation. If a story gives you no useful next step, limit how long you let it occupy your nervous system. Third, you can balance attention on purpose. Balance does not mean pretending good news cancels bad news. It means remembering that your brain does not naturally sample reality evenly. You may have to deliberately look for slow progress, ordinary kindness, quiet competence, and problems being solved because those things are less loud. They do not chase you. You have to turn toward them. This is not weakness. It is training. Just as your ancestors trained themselves to read footprints, weather, faces, and silence, you can train yourself to read your own attention. You can learn when your mind is informing you and when it is trapping you. You can learn when checking once is useful and when checking again is only feeding the alarm. And maybe that is the strangest part. The same brain that pulls you toward bad news can also learn to step back from it. It can watch itself watching. That ability may be one of the most human things about you. You inherited a nervous system shaped by predators, hunger, darkness, rivalry, storms, illness, and uncertainty. It kept your ancestors alive by caring more about what could go wrong than what was already going right. It made danger vivid. It made warnings sticky. It made fear social. Then, the modern world placed that ancient system in front of an endless stream of urgent signals. Of course you look. Of course you click. Of course your thumb stops. But the next time it happens, you can see the older story underneath the modern one. You are not simply reading a headline. You are carrying a brain that once listened for movement in the grass. Tonight, your thumb will stop on something terrible. And now you may understand why.